Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Very exciting video. Today we are talking all about the very best drugstore makeup of 2020. I've gone through my collection, I've gone through old favorites videos and come up with a bin full of what I think are the very best drugstore products from this last year. And boy, do I have some good stuff in here. I look forward to these videos all year long. So today we're going to be talking all about the best drugstore products minus eyeshadow palettes because those need their own special video. I will be back very soon to do a best eyeshadow palettes of 2020 video for you guys. I will also be back very soon with a best high-end makeup of 2020. But for today, for any drugstore makeup lovers out there, this should be a lot of fun. Before we jump into the video, I want to welcome any new visitors to my channel. Hope that you enjoyed this one. If you do, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure that you are subscribed before you leave. With that said, let's jump right in because we've got a lot of makeup to talk about. Alright you guys, so I've got my bin here. We're going to kind of go in order of how I typically apply things to my face. Now my only rule for this was basically to only include things that excited me. I initially thought maybe I'll do 3 of each category, but there were some categories, as you will see, that I literally only have 1 product. There's others that I have more than 3. First off, let's start off with some foundation. Don't have any primers today because honestly, I rarely get excited about primers. You guys probably know that if you watch my videos, but there are 2 foundations that really were kind of my go-tos. The first one is this right here. This is the L'Oreal Infallible Fresh Wear Foundation. Now I did mention this foundation in last year's best of video, but with the crazy year that we have had and those cursed masks that we all have to wear around. Am I the only one that's getting tired of wearing masks? Am I allowed to say that out loud? Well, let it be known. They drive me nuts, and they especially drive me nuts when I have makeup on. This is one of the only foundations that I find doesn't severely transfer onto a mask. So despite the fact that I've always loved this foundation, I have a newfound love for it for kind of a new purpose. So this has probably been my most reached for foundation, especially over the last like 5 months, I would say. This is the foundation I'm wearing today, and this bottle's actually completely gone. I have a new one in my drawer. I'm already dipping into that one. So definitely that would be my number 1 for this year. But if it wasn't for the mask, if I just needed a quick foundation that I know looks good on my skin, doesn't necessarily wear all day long, it would be this one right here. This is the Wet n Wild Dewy Foundation. Not a long wearing foundation by any means, but I love the way this looks and feels on my skin for about 5 to 6 hours. This is a foundation I reach for a lot when I'm filming because it looks great on camera, but even just on a daily basis if I'm just running errands, and that's typically kind of the performance that I need from a foundation. I don't work in an office. I often work at home or stay at home all day long, so 5 or 6 hours is plenty for me. Now I do know there are quite a few people that don't like this foundation because it doesn't have a good wear time. Also, I would say if you don't have dry skin, you probably wouldn't like this one because it is quite hydrating. I do have very dry skin, so I really appreciate the hydration and the dewiness of this, but if you have, I would say, oily skin or maybe even normal skin, you may not like this quite as much. But for me, one of my most reached for foundations this year. Let's move on to some concealers. Very top concealer of this year. Within a month or so of the time that I tried this concealer out, earlier on in the year, I want to say like in April, I knew this was going to make an appearance in this year's video. In fact, this was the first thing that I grabbed for, and it is the Revlon Candid Concealer. This is my favorite concealer this past year. I would say both drugstore and high-end. I do have some high-end concealers that I really enjoy that perform as well as this, but if I have a concealer that's affordable and performs as well as my high-end concealers, which I do think this does, of course I'm going to like that even more. So this is an amazing concealer. I absolutely love it. Perfect high coverage, but it's not cakey, it's not drying, but it's also not overly dewy or doesn't settle into my fine lines. I typically use 2 shades of this when I use it. I have the shade 005, which is a little bit too light for me, so I'll use that just right here in my under eye area, and then I use the shade 25 or 30. Those are almost the same shade actually. And those ones I use for the perimeter of my face to cover any acne scars or active breakouts that I might have. I just can't say enough good things about this concealer. It is absolutely perfection for what I need from a concealer. I love it. I love it so very, very much. And I have a good feeling that a lot of people would really like this one because again, it's not overly drying or cakey, but it's also not overly dewy or luminous. It's just kind of right there in the middle. It's just right. But 2 more concealers that kind of crept into my favorites, I would say, are ones that I got from YesStyle many, many months ago. And they are these 2 right here. They are both from the same brand, which is the brand The Same. SAEM. The Same. This is their liquid tip concealer. I love this tiny little thing. At first, I kind of thought it was funny that it was so incredibly tiny. Now, this is super affordable. I think you can get this for $3 or $4 from YesStyle. I love the formula of this stuff. It works amazingly well. For those times when you need something to maybe throw in your purse or your car or if you travel, this is such a great size. Now, I mentioned this before, the shade range of both of these concealers, because they are K-beauty brands, is horrible. I think they only have 3 or 4 shades. This one, which is the shade 02, happens to match me perfectly. I know that's not going to be the case for anyone, so you're definitely gonna have to kind of take your chances. If you do have, I would say, a light medium to fair skin, there's a good chance that you can probably find something that will work for you, and I do really love this stuff. This is their pot concealer. Now, pot concealers, I don't like using as like my normal everyday concealer, but there's certain situations when I will reach for a pot concealer, and that's usually if I am just maybe getting ready to run an errand at the store and I just want to pop something on my under eye area just to get rid of my dark circles, not really do a full face of makeup, but just conceal a couple of things. I will reach for this very, very often. Now, I wouldn't say I recommend this as an under eye concealer, but I love using just a tiny bit of this just right there in that hollow where I get that really dark kind of blue circle. I'll also use it kind of around my nose where I'm always red. Just cover any of those really discolored areas that need some help. There's just something about a pot concealer and a finger that gets the job done quicker than anything else. I don't have to wet a sponge. I don't have to worry about an applicator or a blender. My finger is both. So it makes it really quick, really easy. These are also very affordable. I can't remember exactly the price on these. I will link them down below. You will probably run into the same issue with the colors of these. They don't have a good color range. But if you know you are a similar shade to me and that sounds like something you might be interested in, I would recommend these. There are some other products we'll be talking about from Yes Style. I do love K-Beauty. I love Yes Style. Let's talk about a powder. I have one and only one powder to mention or recommend, and I wouldn't necessarily say I get excited about this, but I do use it every single day. It's the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder. Very simple, very plain, does the job. I don't find myself needing anything else. You guys will probably know because I have dry skin and I like a more dewy finish. Powders are not something I typically use very much of or get very excited about, but I also know, especially as I'm getting a little bit older, that my foundations and concealers, they do settle quite a bit into my smile line right here and also into my forehead wrinkles, and using a powder every day after I put my foundation on really helps to control any settling. But these powders are just so simple. They're super, super lightweight. They are not going to provide any coverage at all. They're basically just going to help to set your makeup down, which is all that I need my powder to do. They're also very, very affordable and very, very accessible. I think they sell these at many drugstores, at least here in the US. Mine are completely mangled. They both have tape on the lids. They are both, I have severely hit pan in. I actually have two shades. This is a shade Transparent and the shade 11 Creamy Natural. Honestly, I can use them interchangeably. Because they're so lightweight, they really don't give hardly any coverage at all. You really could get away with using a shade that maybe doesn't perfectly match you. They are workhorses for me, and while it's not a product I get super excited about, I don't feel the need to try anything else. Let's move on to bronzers, and by bronzers I mean bronzer, because I only have one to mention. I did not actually try out a lot of drugstore bronzers this year. I did try a few, but of those few there was really only one that really stood out to me, and it is this right here. This is the e.l.f. Primer Infused Bronzer in the shade Forever Sunkissed. I heard people talk about this bronzer all year last year. I'm not sure why it took me so long to try it, but it is a really fantastic drugstore bronzer. Great formula, great shade if you have a light to fair skin tone. Has almost a yellow base, which I really do love. It reminds me a lot of the Milk Chocolate bronzer from Too Faced. I feel like they have somewhat similar undertones. I've also been super impressed with the packaging of these. I normally have issues with drugstore packaging. In fact, a lot of the products that I'll probably show you guys today have broken packages on them, except for these e.l.f. ones. These have really stood the test of time this year, and I do use this quite a bit. Let's talk about a couple of highlighters. First off, this one right here. This is probably my very favorite of the year, and it's the Revlon Skin Lights highlighter in the shade Daybreak Glimmer. This is a very gold toned shimmer, but it's a very light colored gold. So this is a gold that would look good even on very, very fair skin. It is super, super reflective and very, very dry. The formula is extremely dry, but in a good way. I mean, it's not drying on your skin. It just has this really interesting formula to it. It is super reflective, but it doesn't seem to emphasize texture as much as I would think it would, considering how reflective it is. I don't know if that made sense. I'm going to add just a little bit more. Actually, it's been a while since I put my highlighter on. I feel like it's kind of worn off. So there, you can see it right there. I mean, just look at that beaming highlight. It is so, so pretty. I feel like this is a color that would look good on absolutely anyone, whether you are deep skin or very, very fair skin. I really feel like this would be a beautiful highlighter. I absolutely love it. One of my most reached for drugstore highlighters this year. But two others that were in close second is this one right here, the Makeup Revolution Reloaded highlighter in the shade Just My Type. Also this right here, this is the Flower Beauty highlighting palette. This I used a lot at the beginning of the year, then I put it away for a while, kind of forgot I had it, and then in this last month or so I got it back out, and I've been using this one a lot lately. Very, very intense, very foiled. If you're into something a little bit more subtle, I think this one is actually a little bit more subtle. The only issue with this one is I did have an incident with the packaging. As you can see, it has come off. So unfortunate that that happens to like 90% of my drugstore makeup eventually, but it doesn't change the fact that the product inside is really, really lovely. Let me just swatch these two next to this Revlon highlighter just to give you guys an idea. So that's the Revlon. Here is the Makeup Revolution. This one is more of a true champagne. In fact, I'd say it has just a little bit of pink in it, whereas this is a true yellowy gold, like a very white-based yellowy gold. And then let's go ahead and do all three of these shades right here. I typically will mix these three together. So here is the white-based one, the pink based one, and the yellowy gold based one. They are all stunning. Honestly, you couldn't go wrong with any of these. I do think the Makeup Revolution is definitely the least beaming of them all, but if you don't mind something a little bit more intense, this Revlon one or these flower highlights they're intense and they are stunning. So next to eyeshadow palettes, which are the thing that I like to spend my money on the most, I kind of save up my money when it comes to trying out foundations and concealers, brow products, mascaras, and spend that money on eyeshadow palettes because I think that's the funnest thing to try. But this year, blush was a very close second. I tried a lot of blushes out this year, you guys, and fell in love with and discovered a lot of great ones. So bear with me, I have more than 3, but let's start off with the one that if you've been watching me since the beginning of the year, you probably know what my #1 blush pick would be, and it is the Juicy Pang Water Blushers. These, I have such a deep love for these. I absolutely love these. I have 4 different shades of them. I still want to collect all the remaining shades. I want to say there's like 9 shades of these, perhaps 10. I would love to own them all. Honestly, a couple of the ones I have here are ones that were not even at the top of my list of shades I wanted to try. I just happened to find them on Amazon and got them. And this shade right here, I absolutely love. This is the shade VLO3. It's a very soft, kind of dusty, cool toned pinky purple. It is so pretty. If I'm doing a cool toned look, this is the ultimate blush for a cool toned look, but it's a purple that's wearable. I mean, I wouldn't say it's something that would be unwearable by any means. These just have the most lovely, lovely formula. I will say this shade and the shade Guava right here, if you have medium to deep skin, they may not show up super well on you. I would definitely go for some of the more bold colors like these 2 right here. These 2 oranges right here, this one is the shade CR01, this is the shade PK04. They're actually quite similar. This is more of a pinky orange, this is more of a true bold orange. But the formula of these is just so beautiful. They melt so perfectly into your skin and look so natural that you can even get away with wearing a bold orange. Not a shade I will wear super often, but this one I do reach for quite a bit. Another really fun thing is you can actually mix these together. So today I'm actually wearing a mix of CR01 with PK03, which is the shade Guava, and I love the combination. It looks so beautiful. Let me just go through and swatch ones that I have really quickly. I think that might be helpful to see them swatched next to each other. Here is Guava. This is probably my favorite shade. Again, that's the shade PK03 or Guava. Kind of depends on where you buy them, what the shades will be called. They have a number and a name attached to them. Let's go into VLO3. That's the kind of purple toned one I was talking about. There is VLO3. Just look at that pretty cool tone pink. Next I have the shade CR01. This is the like true orange. There is CR01. This one's going to be even better if you have medium to deep skin. This will be so beautiful on you. And then last I have the shade PK04. So as you'll see, it's similar to the one above it, but just a little bit more of a pinky orange. Also would be beautiful on medium to deep skin, I think. They're affordable, they have adorable packaging, and if you're into liquid or cream blushes, which I am, especially over the last 6 months, these just, I don't know that they can be beat. I did want to give a quick little shout out though to the Flower Beauty Blush Bombs. I know these have been around for a while. I actually just barely tried these out like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I've been using them quite a bit recently though, and they do remind me quite a bit of the water blushers. So if you can't get your hands on the water blushers, maybe you like the idea of ordering from Flower Beauty because you can get this on the Ulta Beauty website, I believe. These are stunning as well. This is the shade Bubbly. They actually sent me this one, and this one I bought myself, the shade Pinched. I love them both. I've been using them quite a bit lately, and they do very closely compare to the Juicy Pang ones. Another fantastic blush discovery this year is one that's been around for a very long time. I actually got a comment from one of you in my, I think it was perhaps my blush declutter video that I did earlier on in the year. One of you mentioned you should try out the ColourPop Super Shock Cheek Blushes because they are amazing, and I thought to myself, why have I never tried those? So I finally decided to give them a try, and I ordered the shade Between the Sheets. This is so beautiful, you guys. I love the formula of these. They have this really interesting, like, it's like a spongy formula. I'm sure if you've ever tried like the do you remember the Maybelline cushion blushes? I don't think they make those anymore, but they kind of remind me of that. They're more of like a cushiony, kind of a mix between a powder and a liquid and a cream blush all in one. I love using these with a brush or a sponge, and this shade, you guys, is so beautiful. I absolutely love it. It is the most subtle pink. It looks quite deep in the pan, but on the skin it's just super, super subtle and beautiful. I really want to pick up a couple more of these. I don't know what took me so long to try these or why I was never interested. Perhaps it was because I never really was into anything but a powder blush until this year. I just kind of discovered how much better I think liquid and cream blushes are, at least for me, for my dry skin, for my more mature skin. They generally speaking do me a lot more favors than a powder blush. But that said, I do still enjoy me a good powder blush, and there are a couple that I discovered this year that I really love. First off, these. I know I've mentioned these a few times, but it's been a while since I've mentioned them, you know, with my cream and liquid blush obsession that I've been going through lately. But it is the Essence The Blush blushes. These are incredible. The formula is just as good as any high-end blush that I have ever tried. I love all the shades that I have. I believe they have one more shade as well. I have the shade, this is the shade 20 Bespoke, which is more of like a bronzy. If you like kind of a bronze-colored, warm terracotta kind of blush, you would love this one. It is a little bit shimmery. These two are both matte and I love them both. This is probably my favorite, number 10 Befitting. Really nice soft pink. I should probably swatch these for you guys, huh? So here's the shade Befitting, just a soft neutral pink. Let's go ahead and swatch the shade Bespoke, which is the bronzy shade. This one does have a good amount of sheen in it. I wouldn't say shimmer, I'd say sheen, but it is much more brown in tone. There it is right there. Beautiful though. And then this shade right here is the shade Blooming. This one barely shows up on me. It's more of like a blush mixer. I like to mix this with other blushes that are maybe a little bit too strong or too pigmented for me. If you have the fairest of fair skin, this would be a beautiful blush shade for you, but I love it more as like a blush mixer. Another powder blush that I really loved this year was the e.l.f. Primer Infused Blushes. So I have, these two right here are all the shimmer versions. I have one that's the matte version. I like that one as well, but I got a shade that was much too dark for me, so I don't use it quite as often. But I love these three right here. I think they are beautiful. My favorite is this right here, which is the shade Always Hazy. This is such a pretty shade. It's kind of a pinky bronze. I don't know how to describe it. It's a really neutral colored pink with almost a bit of a bronze shift to it. Sorry guys, my hands are a little bit stained. There it is right there. They do have a bit of sheen to them, but it's such a soft, lovely sheen. I absolutely love it. I also love this shade right here, which is the shade Always Silly. This is much more pink. Really beautiful pink though. I would say this one is not as shimmery as the one above it either. It's a little bit more of a matte. There it is right there. They're so, so nice. I think I found these on sale on the e.l.f. website for like $2.50 or $3 a piece. But I would pay the full $6 or $8 for these. I think they are incredible. We made it through blushes. Let's move into brow products. For this, I only have two. First off, a repeat. The Ulta Brow Pencil, the Ultra Slim Brow Pencil by Ulta. Nothing has beat this yet. It is incredible. My most reached for and used brow pencil. Absolutely love it. I have 3 of these on backup now. The color is just right. The formula is perfect. It's not too creamy, but it's also not too stiff. Perfect spoolie, which is something that I've learned is very important, having a really good spoolie, and I do love this one. The next brow product I have really loved this year is the e.l.f. Wow Brow. I love this brow gel. This has been the year that I've kind of discovered that I like a tinted brow gel. I really didn't up until this point. I was more of a clear brow gel kind of girl, but I love a tinted brow gel for those days when I just need to quickly comb something through my brows and go. It gives them a little bit of color and shape and definition, but it does a really, really quick job of it. It also helps my brows stay upright all day long. It is super affordable, and I've even seen this in my local drugstore, which is very, very convenient because the packaging is tiny, and I will probably run out of it quickly. Although I'm surprised I haven't run out of it yet because I've had this thing for I think 4 months now. Moving on to mascaras, and I have 2 to mention for you guys. The first one, if you watch my videos, will be no stranger to you. It is the Tony Moly Circle Lens Delight Mascara. I love this mascara. It's a very fibrous mascara. I know there are some people that don't love this mascara, but for some reason, it just works really well for me. It does a really good job of holding my eyelashes straight upright all day long. In fact, I would say this holds a curl better than almost any mascara in my collection. It is extremely affordable if you can find it at the right place at the right time. I usually find this on Yes Style's website. It's around $3 or $4 there. I've also seen it on Stylovana for around $3 or $4. It's worked really well for me. I really do love it. I have backups of this. It's one of the only mascaras that I continually repurchase. But I do want to mention one that I just started trying out, and I hate to mention new things, but this one has impressed me so much that I had to mention it today, and it is the Flower Beauty Warrior Mascara. This does really great things for my lashes, but what has impressed me so much about this stuff is its wear time. This stuff wears like a waterproof mascara, but it comes off pretty easy. Like it washes off with soap and water pretty easily for me. But I actually fell asleep in my mascara one night last week. I know. That's a big no-no, but it happened. And I noticed the next morning, my mascara looked like I had just applied it. Now, I've fallen asleep in my mascaras before. I'm ashamed to admit it. Doesn't happen often, but it happens sometimes. And even the ones that wear pretty well often are mostly worn off by the next day. This stuff was not. Honestly, that day I thought about just washing my face around my eyes and like wearing my eye makeup for day 2 because it looked that good. I mean, it was incredible. I can't believe how great this stuff is. Very impressed, Flower Beauty. By the way, I meant to show you guys the brush. The brush of the Warrior Princess Mascara reminds me a lot of the L'Oreal Lash Paradise. And the Tony Moly, as you will see, has a very subtle curve to it. We are getting down to the end. Last category is lips, and I have some lipsticks, some lip glosses, and a couple of lip liners to share with you guys. Let's start with the lip liners. And I have just 2 brands to share with you, and you may be able to guess what they are. First off, the Milani Color Statement lip liners. These are like $3 or $4. They are incredible, especially these specific colors. I have the shades 04 All Natural, 03 Nude, and I think I talked about these in the last 2 year-end favorites video, so that will tell you how much of a favorite these are. But another lip liner I absolutely love is ColourPop's lip liner. I love the shade Oh Snap. This has been a long time favorite of mine. I may have mentioned this in last year's favorites video, but I have 2 new shades this year that I really enjoy. These are relatively new to me, but especially this shade right here, the shade Beeper. This is the one I'm wearing on my lips today. I absolutely love it. It is very nice. It's like a gray toned rosy brown. Oh, I love shades like this for under lipsticks. Just to deepen things up and add a little bit of definition. I absolutely love it. Their formula is really, really creamy. And as long as I put it on my lips when they're not too glossy or there's not a lot of product on them, they stay in place pretty well. Let me just swatch these 2 shades as well. So here's the shade Oh Snap, a lot more pink in that one. And then this one is the shade Little One. This has just a little bit more of like a warm peachy pink to it. There it is right there. And while we're at it, let's just go backwards and swatch the Milani ones as well. So here is the shade All Natural below these ones, and the shade 03 Nude. This one has a little bit more pink in it. There it is right there on that side. Now let's move into some lipsticks. I have 2 brands that I want to mention. First off, the Almay Lip Store, no, not Lip Stories. I get these mixed up with the Sephora ones. Lip Vibes lipsticks. I have fallen in love with the formula of these and the adorable packaging. Look how cute this packaging is. This shade right here is the shade Never Regret. It's a very brown toned nude. I actually have another shade that I probably wear more often than this one, but I couldn't find it. I don't know what I did with that one, but I really love these ones. I love the shade Worry Less as well. That's the one that's a little bit more of like a cool tone kind of pinky purple, but I love these lipsticks. They have such a nice, rich, creamy formula. They look very smoothing and nice on the lips. They are creamy, but they're not too creamy to where they move around a lot or look overly glossy. I just love them. I think they're great. They're also super affordable, especially if you can find them at Target or Walmart. But if I had to pick just one brand that really excited me and stood out to me this year, it would have to be my Maybelline lipsticks. I've been a long time fan of the Maybelline lipsticks, but this year especially, I've reached for them so much. I absolutely love all of their different formulas. They have such good color range. They have so many good nudes to pick from. These are probably my 3 favorites and my 3 most used. First off, this one, when I am doing a cool tone look and I want something very pink, this is the shade Romantic Rose. This was a recommendation, I think, by my good friend Melissa. Oh, I love it. It is such a beautiful, almost purpley pink. It is so flattering on the lips. I absolutely love it. If you're into very, very pinky pinks that aren't like Barbie pink, they look natural, but they have that little bit of like a Barbie twist to it. This is such a beautiful, beautiful shade. I absolutely love it. Another one I really love comes from their Shine formula, and it's this shade right here. This is the shade Baddest Beige. This is a really light in tone, kind of creamy beigey peach. There it is right there. This is the one that I definitely need to wear with a lip liner. Very creamy, very smooth, very shiny. The packaging is nice. I just think they're incredible. And the last one is this one right here. This is the shade 920 Nude Lust. This was a favorite nude of mine when I started my channel, and then I kind of forgot about it, and lately I've been kind of coming back to it. It actually reminds me of like a mix between these shades. So it has the coolness of this one, maybe even a little more of like a grayish cool, but the lightness and tone of this one. So this is a very light nude. Again, it's a shade that I like wearing with a deeper lip liner underneath, but I love the color and formula of this one. It is so, so beautiful on the lips. That is what I'm wearing today. By the way, I'm also wearing the shade Beeper on my lips. Did I mention that? Let me just add a little bit more. Kind of see what it looks like. I just think it's so, so pretty, especially when I'm doing like a very intense eye, a smoky eye, or like a really sparkly eye. I love a good nude lip with a bold eye, and those are some beautiful nude options. Almost done, you guys. We are down to lip glosses, and I have 2.5. to mention for you. So I have two with an honorable mention. Let's say it like that. First off is a new discovery this year. This is probably my top pick. It is the Maybelline Lifter Gloss. I love this stuff, you guys. I absolutely love it. It has everything that I love in a good gloss. It smells nice. The color is great. The formula is nice. The packaging is lovely. I slightly wish there was more product in here considering how large the packaging is. There's not a ton of product in here, which is something that typically annoys me and is why I kicked Milani off the list this year. But I like this gloss formula better. It smells better. It performs better. It's a really shiny gloss that doesn't feel sticky on the lips, which is like the best of both worlds, right? I have mine in the shade Silk. I absolutely love it. Let's just add a little bit on top of what I'm wearing. It is so comfortable, and the smell, you guys. It is the smell that really won me over with this stuff, I've got to be honest, but I really love it. So beautiful. I still want to pick up a couple more shades of this. Haven't gotten around to it yet. Anyone else like me not buying lip products very much lately because you can't really wear them other than when you're alone in your house? I do have another one though to mention. This is a repeat, and I think this is year number 3 that I've talked about these. It is the NYX Butter Gloss. I still think this is the best gloss at the drugstore. If you are looking for something that performs well, has good color range, and is affordable, this is going to check all of those boxes. They are incredible. They are the best gloss at the drugstore for the best value, I would say. These are probably my 3 favorite shades. I have Creme Brulee, Praline, and then Tiramisu. This is a very pinky tone. Let me just swatch them for you. I know everyone's tried these out, right? Unless you've been living under a rock, but if you have been living under a rock in 2020, here is the shade Tiramisu. It's much more of a pink tone. Then we have the shade Creme Brulee. This is a very light kind of peachy, milky peach color, I would say. So there it is right there. I know it's kind of difficult to see because it's a little bit lighter. And then last I have the shade Praline. This was a new shade to me this year. It's much more of a brown toned pink, but beautiful, beautiful color. There it is, right there. These are just lovely. They do smell nice. The formula is great. They're a little bit more sticky than the Lifter Gloss is, but I wouldn't call them super sticky by any means. They're just great all around. I mean, I know everyone's talked about these for the last 10 years, but I still don't think these can be beat at the drugstore for the price. I did want to give an honorable mention though to one more gloss, and this is the ColourPop Luxe Lip Oil. This one I have is in the shade Skinny Dip. This stuff is really, really nice. Another great option for those of you that do not like any stickiness to your lip glosses. So the shade I have, it's pretty clear. I mean, it's like a milky peach that I would say is even more clear than the Creme Brulee, but such a lovely formula. These are not sticky at all. They do remind me a lot of the Maybelline glosses, but the Maybelline just won me over because of their smell. They smell delicious, whereas the ColourPop ones, they don't really have a scent, but because they don't have a scent, you can almost smell the chemicals inside them. And I always like a little bit of sugar in my lip gloss. I know that I've said that before. When given the choice between something that smells like cake and something that doesn't, I will always choose cake. But that, you guys, is it. Those are all of the best products in 2020. Thank heavens this year is almost over. I think we are all hoping for a better 2021, but despite the fact that this was a challenging year, I think for all of us, there was some really good makeup releases, which is always a good thing, right? Look on the bright side. But that is it for today's video. I would love to know from you guys, what are some of the very best products that you loved in the year 2020? What did you get the most excited about? What have you used the most? Let me know what those are down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for watching my videos. For those that have been watching me throughout the year, thank you so much for your support. And for any newcomers here, I hope that you'll consider subscribing. I would love to have you on board. But that is it for today. Keep an eye out for my best high-end makeup of the year. That will be coming in a couple of days. And next week, I will have my best eyeshadow palettes of 2020, which you know I'm looking forward to. Until then, thank you guys again, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Shade Soft Beige, which is every time I read the back of this, I think it says always lazy. Like a subconscious thing? I don't know.